Intro, my brothers and my sisters. Before we dive deep into the mystery of human connection, I want you to pause for a second. Take a breath. Look around your life. The world moves fast, too fast. We scroll, we swipe, we chase validation in digital clouds but forget the art of asking real questions. The kind of questions that reveal who you are. Because love, attraction, connection, they are not tricks. They are truths wrapped in vulnerability. And if you want to reach the soul of a woman, if you want to stir her spirit beyond appearance or charm, then you must learn to speak the language of depth. Today, we talk about 10 questions that have the power to make any woman go crazy for you. Not because they manipulate her emotions, but because they awaken her humanity. These are not ordinary questions. They are bridges between hearts. They are mirrors for the mind. And they are windows into the parts of yourself that you've kept silent for too long. Cornel West once said, "You can't lead the people if you don't love the people. You can't save the people if you don't serve the people." And that, my friend, includes the way you love a woman. This is not about pickup lines. It's not about control. It's about presence and the courage to be fully human in a world that teaches men to hide. So as we begin, remember, a woman is not conquered by your words. She's moved by your sincerity. She's not impressed by how loud you speak. She's drawn to how deep you think. Let's begin our journey. The question of depth. Question 1. What inspires you to wake up every morning? It sounds simple, but this question touches the soul. When you ask a woman this, you are not asking about her job, her schedule, or her routines. You're asking about her fire, that secret flame that keeps her alive when the world gets cold. See, most men talk at women, few men talk to them, but the wise man, the man who moves her soul, listens between the words. Cornel West calls it the love ethic, the radical act of paying attention in an age of distraction. When you ask this question, you invite her to show her essence. You tell her, "I want to know what makes you come alive." And when you truly listen, not to reply, not to impress but to understand, she begins to feel safe. And understand this: safety is the soil in which attraction grows. When a woman feels emotionally seen, she begins to trust you, not because you're flawless, but because you're real. You must remember, brother, women fall for men who make them feel understood, not for men who just make them laugh. Because laughter fades, looks fade, but understanding, and that's eternal. So the first question is not a line. It's an invitation to see her world, to honor her journey, to make her feel that her story matters in your presence. And when she answers, you do not correct her. You do not turn it into a debate. You let her speak. Because every woman longs for a man who listens like a sanctuary, not a soldier. Cornel West once said, "Justice is what love looks like in public." So let your listening be your justice. Let your compassion be your language. That's how you touch her, not with hands first, but with soul. The question of wounds and strength. Question 2. What's something that once broke you but taught you strength? Now this one is sacred. You must not ask it lightly, because this is where walls crumble and truths rise. Every woman carries a history, some of it soft, some of it scarred. But when you give her space to speak of pain without judgment, you are offering something the world rarely gives: grace. Cornel West reminds us that to be human is to wrestle with brokenness, that love is not a fairy tale, but a fight for understanding amid chaos. And when you ask this question, you are saying, "I can handle your truth." You are saying, "You don't have to be perfect with me." Understand, when a woman speaks of her pain, she's not testing your sympathy, she's testing your stability. She wants to know, can you stand in my storm without running? That's where real attraction begins, not in smiles or games, but in shared humanity. She will never forget the man who looked at her tears and didn't flinch, because in that moment you become a mirror of courage, not because you saved her, but because you stayed present. And there's a deep truth here. The way you respond to a woman's pain tells her more about your soul than any success you could boast of. Don't try to fix her. Don't turn it into your lesson. Just listen, and let your silence say, "I honor your strength." And when she sees that you don't run from her darkness, she begins to see you as light. That is how emotional intimacy is born, in the quiet spaces where honesty meets empathy. Cornel West said, "Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public, and tenderness is what love feels like in private. So be tender, be true, be present, because the most powerful man is not the one who hides emotion. It's the one who can hold space for another's. That, my friend, is strength. That, my friend, is the foundation of desire, the question of purpose and fire question. If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?" Now this question, my brother, cuts through the noise, because when you ask a woman about the world, not just herself, you're speaking to her vision, not just her vanity. You're saying, "I want to know what moves your soul, not just what catches your eye." Cornel West reminds us that the heart of love is always connected to justice, that to love deeply is to care about the suffering of others. And when you bring this spirit into your conversations, you show her that your mind is not trapped in small talk. You show her that your soul is wide, that you think beyond yourself. Most men ask, "What's your favorite color?" or "What music do you like?" But you ask what change she longs to see in the world. You invite her to dream out loud, and that, my friend, is magnetic, because every woman deep down wants to know, can this man see beyond his own reflection? Can he carry hope, not just ego? When she begins to speak, you listen, not to analyze, but to feel. Maybe she wants to change how people treat the weak. Maybe she wants to heal a broken system. Or maybe she just wants to see people smile again. Whatever her answer is, and honor it. Because that's her truth, her rebellion, her prayer. And when you connect with her vision, you do something rare. You remind her that the world is still worth believing in. And she will remember that it was you who made her believe again. Cornel West once said, "You can't lead the people if you don't love the people." So love her vision. Respect her dream. Because attraction without respect is just noise. But attraction with reverence, and that's poetry. The question of presence and memory. Question 4. What's a moment you wish you could relive, not to change it, but to feel it again? This question walks a fine line between nostalgia and depth. Because when you ask it, you are saying, "Tell me what made you feel alive." Not the pain, not the regret, but the beauty that still glows inside her memory. See, my brother, people are not drawn to those who promise perfection. They are drawn to those who understand the power of a moment. Cornel West calls it the dance of time, that rhythm of life where joy and sorrow mix and the music never stops. When she answers, she's opening a time capsule of emotion. Maybe it's her childhood laughter, maybe a late-night conversation, maybe a sunrise she never forgot. Whatever it is, listen carefully, because that story carries her truth, and her truth is sacred ground. And when you listen, don't rush to comment. Let silence do its work, because silence, when filled with empathy, becomes intimacy. You see, every woman remembers the man who listened like he had nowhere else to be. That's how presence becomes power. That's how attention becomes affection. And here's what's deeper. When you honor her memories, you help her remember who she is. Because life, my friend, has a cruel way of making people forget their own beauty. Your job is not to remind her of her flaws. Your job is to remind her of her fire. Cornel West teaches that to be human is to remember what it means to feel. So let her feel again. Let her revisit the sacred. Because attraction is not built through logic, it's built through shared humanity. And in that quiet moment when her voice softens and her eyes drift into the past, you will see something real, something the world rarely shows anymore. Sincerity, the question of courage and vulnerability. Question 5. What's something you've always wanted to do, but fear has held you back? This is where everything changes. Because now you're not just talking, you're touching the truth. You're saying, "Show me the part of you that trembles and I won't turn away." Cornel West calls this the courage to be unfinished. The recognition that every human being, no matter how strong, how beautiful, how confident, is still becoming. And when you create space for that vulnerability, you are giving her permission to be real. See, most people build walls to survive. They act strong because the world punishes weakness. But when you ask this question with gentleness, you whisper, "It's okay to be scared. It's okay to want more." And in that moment, she feels something deeper than attraction. She feels trust. Because now she sees that your masculinity is not made of dominance but of dignity. You are not trying to prove your worth. You're trying to understand hers. Maybe she's afraid of failing. Maybe she's afraid of being judged. Or maybe, just maybe, she's afraid of being loved fully, because love has hurt her before. Your role is not to fix that fear, but to honor it. To say through your presence, "You are safe to dream again." Cornel West says, "You can't be a hope without courage. You can't be a light without cracks." So let her see your cracks too. Share something small that scares you, not to impress her, Andy, but to show her that you too are human. Because love is not about being perfect together. It's about being honest together. And when a woman senses that you are honest with your own fears, she will open up like never before. That's the paradox of attraction. The more human you become, the more magnetic you are. So remember this. Charm makes her smile. Looks catch her attention. But authentic courage, that's what makes her heart remember you long after the conversation ends. That's what Cornel West means when he speaks of the blues of life, the art of turning struggle into beauty. Because in a world full of masks, the bravest act of all is to be real. The question of love and understanding. Question 6. What does love mean to you when no one is watching? Now we move into the heart of hearts, the place where masks fall away. When you ask this, you're not seeking a cliché. You're not fishing for romance. You're searching for truth. Because love, when stripped of performance, reveals character. Cornel West once said, "Justice is what love looks like in public, but tenderness is what love feels like in private." And that's exactly what this question uncovers, the tenderness behind her strength. See, many people talk about love, but few dare to define it. They talk of feelings, of passion, of forever, but not of the quiet choices that love demands. When you ask her this, you're inviting her to show the unseen version of herself, the version that holds others when the world turns cruel, the version that forgives even when it hurts, the version that gives without needing applause. And as she speaks, notice the subtle shift. Her tone softens, her eyes reflect memory, her words slow down. That's because you've entered sacred territory, vulnerability without fear. But here's the real secret. This question is not just about her. It's about you too, because every time you listen to her truth, you're forced to confront your own. Do you love with honesty? Do you serve without pride? Do you hold others accountable with kindness rather than control? Cornel West teaches that love is not sentimentality. It's a commitment to the well-being of another soul. So when you speak to a woman about love, let your words carry that weight. Let her see that you understand that real love isn't about possession. It's about presence. It's not about having her. It's about honoring her. And when she feels that you value her essence more than her image, she will begin to see you differently. Not as just another man seeking attention, but as a man anchored in integrity, a man who doesn't just speak love but lives it. That's when attraction transforms into reverence. That's when curiosity turns into connection. Because in a world obsessed with appearances, authenticity is irresistible. The question of legacy and purpose. Question 7. What do you want to be remembered for? This, my brother, is the ultimate question. Because it doesn't just reveal who she is, it reveals who she wants to be. Cornel West often speaks about legacy, not as fame, not as wealth, but as impact. He says, "We are who we choose to be in the face of death, despair, and doubt." And this question invites her to reflect on exactly that. When you ask it, you are saying, "Tell me the story you want the universe to remember." You are inviting her to share her mission, not the small goals of today, but the eternal hopes of her soul. Maybe she'll say she wants to be remembered for kindness, maybe for courage, maybe for helping others feel seen. Whatever she says, honor it, because every legacy begins as a whisper of desire inside the human heart. And as she speaks, something beautiful happens. She begins to connect you with her vision. You are no longer two strangers exchanging words. You are two souls sharing a horizon. This question does more than create attraction. It creates alignment, because the deepest form of desire is shared direction. When two people look at life and see the same mountain worth climbing. And here's the hidden Stoic truth. When you ask someone about their legacy, you are reminding them that time is limited, that life is fragile, that love must be lived now, not later. That realization stirs the spirit. It makes the moment between you feel infinite. Cornel West once said, "To live is to wrestle with despair yet never give up on joy." So remind her and remind yourself that your purpose is not to live forever, but to live fully. To leave behind a trail of kindness, courage, and truth, because that's what makes a woman fall. Not just for your charm, but for your direction. When she sees that your purpose runs deeper than ego, she'll trust your presence more than your promises. That's the essence of masculine energy, refined by wisdom. To protect without control. To love without ownership. To lead without pride. The final message. Now, my brother, you've learned the power of 7 questions. Questions that go beyond flirtation and pierce into the soul. But remember, these questions mean nothing if your heart isn't sincere. Cornel West says, "You can't have hope unless you have courage." And I say this to you now. You can't have connection unless you have humility. Ask not to impress. Ask to understand. Speak not to dominate, speak to connect. Love not to possess, love to liberate. Because the real secret is not in the questions themselves. It's in the spirit behind them. It's in your willingness to be curious, to be gentle, to be real. A woman does not go crazy for a man because of what he owns. She goes crazy for the way he makes her feel seen, for the way he turns conversation into reflection, and reflection into meaning. When you walk this path, when you live with the grace of the Stoic and the fire of Cornel West, you no longer chase love, you embody it. You become the calm in her chaos, the depth in her surface world, the question that lingers in her mind long after you've gone. So don't memorize these questions. Live them. Live them in your words, your eyes, your silence, your presence. Because when a man learns to ask beautifully, he never needs to beg for attention. And when he learns to listen deeply, he never fears losing love. That's the paradox, my friend. The more you let go of control, the more powerful you become. That's what Stoicism teaches. That's what Cornel West preaches. And that's what real connection demands. So when the night grows quiet and your thoughts begin to wander, remember this. It's not about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions with the right heart. Because the right question asked with sincerity can touch a soul deeper than 1,000 declarations of love. And when you do that, when you reach her soul with truth, she won't just think about you, she'll feel you, even in your absence, even in silence. That, my friend, is the art of attraction through wisdom. That, my brother, is how a man becomes unforgettable.